the students should get, the right group.
Namaskaram.
Okay.
So I'm a great fan of yours, Sriji. I have watched your videos and as a soloist, as well as your collaborations with several artists, and you never stop to amaze me. Welcome to Chat with Chithra. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much.
We go back, I think, over 10 years.
Yes.
You grew up in India and you started your musical training. How did this all begin for you?
My father is a musician. He was a staff artist in All India Radio.
Mm-hmm.
And he was working in New Delhi. That's where I was born. And then he got transferred to Pondicherry. So all my schooling was done in Pondicherry.
Right.
And later we moved to Chennai because he was transferred again from Pondicherry to Chennai because the Chennai All India Radio started the Vadya Vrinda.
Right.
So my father was experienced playing in Vadya Vrinda for many years in New Delhi. So obviously the choice kind of came for him to come to Chennai. So we moved to Chennai, which is also was necessary because of the music career that is kind of, melting pot. So it's better to be there, right?
Yes. So you've taken inspiration after your father and you were trained in both vocal as well as Mridangam, or was it just Mridangam all along?
All the Mridangists, they have to have a training in vocal. So I did study vocal music also.
Right.
The vocal is something very gifted, right? If the vocal means you have to have a great voice to sing. So whoever is blessed with that, they become singers.
Right.
Like we have Vijay Shiva, Ashok Ramani, there are amazing Mridangists, but they chose being as a vocalist because they had a great, fantastic voice. And so I chose to stick with Mridangam than the voice.
Okay. So you had training for...
I see this is the one of very interesting fact when people always say I started learning when I'm 3, 4. But the thing is, when it is in your family, you start playing at some point of time. You don't know when you started.
Exactly.
And probably the seriousness in my practice and everything probably came when I am probably 9 years or 10 years old.
Oh, right.
So at the time I was playing. So I was playing, they were teaching something because always there were students in my house learning. So I will observe them and try to kind of replicate what they play.
Mm.
And also my father wanted to teach me violin. That's what he said at some point of time, but he could not find the right teacher for me in Pondicherry at the time. So then he decided to just teach Mridangam, which is this subject.
Right. The foundations of Carnatic music rely on oral communication. And generally, music was not a written down, unlike in Western music, where sheet music and scores play a large role in learning and performing. So for our audience members who do not know what Mridangam is, it is one of the main South Indian percussion instrument which accompanies a vocalist and an instrumentalist. Now, the Mridangam also has a vocal reference which is used, known as konakol, and which is basically a voice imitation to the percussive sounds. Am I right, Sriji?
Almost. See, konakol is a separate art form. The one what we call konakol nowadays is nothing but solkatu. The solkatu is the art form where you imitate the phrases what you want to play in the instrument. But whereas when you come to konakol, it is a separate subject. And like Mridangam training, you should have a voice training to do konakol. And now it is kind of like misplaced. Both are kind of used in the same sense, but konakol is a totally a different art form, which almost I will say like probably it has vanished. For example, if you take Uttukadu's composition, he has used like a lot of konakol phrases.
Yeah.
And those phrases, we don't use it in a day-to-day, to play Mridangam phrases. So what I call it konakol is just my Mridangam phrases, I am vocalizing it. But that is solkatu, and it is not technically a konakol. Konakol, I have seen some old works of konakol. I have spoken to a few of the legends about that. And they always felt, the konakol almost like it is a You have to learn, you have to have a discipline to learn as an instrument because it has many more sounds than what we use for solkatu.
Okay, I always thought solkatu, advanced state of solkatu is konnakol. Maybe because it also involves an element of language dexterity, and also it has a euphony to it, right?
What happens is, when I do my say konnakol, for the best of the ability, I am just playing my instrument through my voice. But I am not using a different approach in my mind as far as what are the phrases. I don't use any specific phrases which is part of konnakol.
Okay, that's interesting. I understand you teach Mridangam and direct also a multicultural ensemble at the University of North Texas. When you teach your students in a Western country who may not have had prior exposure to Carnatic music or Mridangam as such, how do you introduce them to Mridangam? Now, do you use Western terminology to help them understand?
I don't teach anybody Mridangam in my university.
All right.
I teach some student Kanjira, and if they want to learn Mridangam, it should be in a private basis, not as part of the. If they are really interested, I tell them, one important thing I tell them is don't waste your time playing Mridangam, because you start when you are 18, 19, and however you practice, and because it has happened to me in my last 30 years of experience, I have taught students Mridangam in the past. I had Mridangam students who even majored in Mridangam. And in the perspective, I have to figure out where are they now, because most of them are drum set players, or they are touring with another band doing different things, or they are teachers like writing composition. So really they never blossomed as a Mridangam player, and it is not possible because Mridangam is something which you grow in. You cannot start late and try to be in the. Now, if you take a 11-year-old playing in India, for somebody to be to that level of 11-year-old, it is very challenging. And so what I decided was, instead of wasting their time and my time, I teach them the Mridangam phrases in their own instrument. They will learn in drum set with me. So that way, they can avoid one step of going through learning, spending time to learn Mridangam, just like go directly start to work on drum set. But for the Indian children, I teach them all Mridangam because they all come to me when they are like 4, 5, 6 years old. In fact, I don't even encourage teenagers when they want to start. I tell them, it's because they say they are in 9th grade. So they have only 2-3 years left before they go to college. So that time frame is not enough. So I always encourage very young age, like for kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, even up to 6th grade, it is okay, you can start. But after that, it becomes a challenge to complete it in a formal way. And you can always assemble something, but for them to be really, to come to a point of understanding music, it will take a long time.
Right.
When you learn violin or vocal, what happens is you are learning a repertoire where you can perform it and sing it, or you can do that. If you learn a Mridangam, not only you have to learn Mridangam, you have to know also vocal music, you have to know how the singer is, you have to know every other singer style, how to accompany. So it is a long curve when you start learning Mridangam. If you want to come to a good level. And so I have discouraged students, but after I came to North Texas, as part of my curriculum also, I don't have Mridangam as a study subject.
Right. I think it does involve a lot of commitment also on the part of the student, and they need to prioritize if they will have to get to the performing level. Isn't it?
Even if they do that, it is not that possible. The reason is, it is like tennis. I always call Mridangam playing is like tennis. Yeah, you can start learning tennis when you are 18, but you can never be in Wimbledon. For Wimbledon, you have to go there. You have to start your career at 8, 9. By 11, 14, you will know whether you will make to that cut. So similar way, after that, you can learn for fun. That is a different issue. I mean, it will be only a fancy thing. Okay, a Western is playing a Mridangam. But in the history of Mridangam, I don't know any Westerners who can come to a level of Mridangam playing like a 13-year-old, 14-year-old will play in India. The reason is it is they spend a lot of time. It is not like they don't practice or anything, because they are interested, they are learning. But the fingering and everything just goes into like you have to mold into the instrument from your childhood. When you learn older, it is very, not only Westerners, even grown-up people, they can play for happiness.
Hmm.
But if they want to come to a competitive level of playing, they won't be able to do that.
Right. Is it because also of the complexity of the percussion instrument as such as well?
It is, yeah, definitely, because as I said in the beginning, you have to grow into that. See, when your fingers are very tender, and then you start playing, and then you grow into that, and slowly you have to accumulate all those your growth into along with the mridangam. The capacity to play phrases, all these things you have to do it in a very young age.
Right. Okay.
Later it becomes very challenging even to sit in the you see the another thing in the west is even for them to sit in the floor itself is a very big problem.
Yes.
So in that sense, to save them time and save them precious practice hours, I tell them just to learn the mridangam phrases some other ways so that they can play in the instrument which they are already trained in.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think you are guiding them in the right way because, as you said, learning this art form from a young age would be the best way to go forward. And would you think, say, around 8 to 9 years of age would be the right age? Perfect.
That's fair enough. Yeah, 9 will be a very good age. If I get a Western student who is in that age group, definitely I will be able to make them to come to a competitive level.
Amazing.
But I don't get that.
Right. You played with several artists and across many genres over the years. Is there any one particular or a special collaboration that stands out and means the most to you?
Yeah, it is me playing for the great Veena artist Imani Sankar Sastri. Because I have played with, my career started with him. So I have played many concerts with him. Then I was fortunate even to play when he's practicing in home. He's my guru too, because he took me to so many different places. And even when some other mridangist is playing like a concert, he will take me there to keep even thala, so that I can understand how the other mridangist is playing. So he is like one of my gurus who has molded me into what I am. And then I was fortunate enough to play so many concerts of his till I came to the United States.
Amazing. I happened to listen to one particular composition recently, and it's such a wonderful composition which depicts the maritime trade route from Greece, Arabia, India, Indonesia, and China. And I was quite intrigued. The imagery the music evokes is truly unreal. Now, especially the use of timpani and the conches at the beginning. Listening to it, I was certainly transported to the dots. Can you tell me how you go about writing this music?
Even in my campus, when I start my class, for example, I started my class this semester. So I just go very fresh. I don't have any composition pre-thought in my mind. Okay. And then when I go there, I discuss to the students. And for example, 1 year when I was starting that class, that year, that day morning, the news was Pluto was diminished to a rock. It is not planet anymore.
Right.
Okay. So when that study came in, that is, we were just discussing, and then we took that as a concept and tried to make a piece around it. Obviously, Pluto being a 9th planet, say, let us say we'll do in a time signature of 9. We'll do in the Thala of 9-beat cycle. I picked up Shivaranjani because it is a very melancholic or sad movement. So we pick up a scale which will go along with it. And then we just try to develop like some of the concept based on that. And then we try to develop into a piece. So it is like same like how a film music director will do. And you first of all, you have to have a situation when you write a music. Without a situation, it's very hard to conceive anything. So when I wrote Maritime Silk Road, the first thing is like there are so many Silk Road pieces around in the world. There have been hundreds of years people have written. Then I figured out like, okay, why can't I write something like a maritime? So what are the countries they stop? So I took the inspiration from those countries, and then the rhythmic and melodic ideas which will be prevailing in that country. So that I kept as a what you call inspiring theme for me. Yeah. And then as a mridangist, since I'm very stronger in the percussion side, I put a lot of effort on rhythmic side. For example, that piece will start with Mishra Chapa 7/8, and then it will go to Kanda Chapu 5/8. And when it comes to India, it will be in Rupagam 3/4 because that is the rhythm they used in coastal Kerala in those days. A lot of ideas came. In Indonesia, they will use only like a Ekatalam 4/4. So for Indonesia, I kept that. And then as the concept of the piece, then I added up all these talas, like in math, like a 5/8 plus 7/8 plus 4/4 plus 3/4. That ended up becoming 13/4. The final Chinese section I composed in 13-beat cycle. So it is just like you go through this process of what all you can do mathematically, rhythmically, melodically. And then when it came to India, since they are going to the ocean, I took the inspiration from the fisherman's music.
Right.
And then I set it up in a little bit, and it kind of figured out. Then I said, okay, I can transform there into Kuttalavarali so that way it will have a nice tone. For gamelan, I used the scales what the Sundanese, so in the gamelan in Sumatra, what they used it. So I picked up that scale to use on. In Chinese, when it comes pentatonic scale, so it become very easy to pick up a Chinese scale. So all these things is a storytelling process through music. So that is what this whole composition is about.
Amazing.
And then for me to write that piece was more challenging because I was writing for some of the instruments I don't even know what they are. Most of them are Chinese percussion and melodic instruments. I know in Chinese, I know pipa and erhu. I have never seen other instruments like dhruvan, and all these instruments are very new to me. So in this process, I also learned about that music also quite a lot. I studied about it. And then this great person, he lives in Singapore. His name is Wang Chenwei. He's an amazing composer. And he arranged a couple of compositions for me. I was in frequent touch with him, getting some clues of what is the range of the instrument to write and all those concepts.
Amazing, because the music you've composed matches, each place on the route incredibly well. And, the vibes of each country is captured so very perfectly. And also, as you mentioned rightly, some of the instruments used there are not part of a typical Western orchestra. What are those?
Yes, it is the group itself is a Taiwanese Chinese orchestra. So it is a TCO, is a Taiwanese Chinese orchestra. So this is an orchestra they made to preserve the Chinese instrument.
Okay. Can you tell me more about what are the interesting projects you have done, or your future projects you're working with them?
Actually, more than anything else, my music itself is very much influenced by Indonesian music. How I used to play Mridangam to how I play now, everything changed because I was exposed to Indonesian music. When I came to San Diego State, they had a Javanese music section. When I started playing it, I felt like I'm part of this ensemble. In Indonesian music, the more senior the musician you are, you will play the less the instrument. So like a gong will be played by the senior most musician. This guy would have seen everything before that, and you'll be a great master. And so all the younger people will play like very busy and fast and all this instrument, and then slowly it will kind of pass on to that. Then there is no ego in that music. You don't have a soloist, or you don't have a name. So it is just a gamelan. The village name will be there, this village gamelan, that's all. You won't have any persons being projected in that music. It is only the music is important, and what they do is very important to them. It is the process of that. For example, if you go to Bali, you are short of a player, you can just ask your taxi driver to play with you. He will play because he knows music. Very simple. But he is driving taxi. It does not mean that he is not a musician. He will be incredible. You go to a hotel receptionist and she will be a dancer, and she knows how to dance. Because in Indonesian culture, every children learn as part of their village activity to play music, and then they all come together every day evening, and then they will practice and play together. And even for their children, for their birthdays, they will have a little music thing going on the street, like a procession and all those kind of stuff. When I started playing, then I figured out, like always when I played Mridangam, before that, there was this thing like I have to show the best of who I am instead of like what I can contribute for the music, what time. Once I started playing this, it totally changed my approach for the Indian music. Actually, very interestingly, when I played a concert for S.P. Ram in Chennai, who is also my another guru, Lalgudi Jayaraman, was there. He was very important for me because he monitored my whole career from my first concert onwards. He came to all my concerts and he would write a note, what I should do, what I should not do, everything. And then I have to go to his house, get a feedback from him. And so, he has contributed so much for my development. And when I played for SP Ram, he came that day evening, he came Tamil, he said, இன்னைக்கு ரொம்ப சென்சிட்டிவா நீ வாசிச்ச, ரொம்ப நல்லா சென்சிட்டிவா வாசிக்க கத்துருக்க, ரொம்ப நல்லா இருந்தது கேட்கறதுக்கு. And normally he never gives any flowery words or anything like that. He is always for the students. He always he makes sure that the mistakes are pointed out, right? And because he saw the change in me, I know that the change was how I was playing before, and how I played so much change because I played Indonesian music. Being a part of contributing for music, not being my own self who has to project myself. That is two different hemispheres. Started playing Javanese music, but I go to Bali. Balinese music is a little bit more vibrant. And you go to Sumatra, and their Sundanese music is totally different. They're all different gamelans. Even in Bali, every village sound is different. And if you are expert, you will go, you can say, okay, this particular village is playing, this particular village is playing. You will know the gamelan from the sound. And then they have gamelan for temple rituals. That another thing is, in Bali, the Hinduism is very predominant. They follow a very interesting system. I always thought if nothing would have changed in India, maybe Indian Hinduism would be same way. Because there they have caste system. The priest is respected as a Brahmana, and then they have Kshatriyas who are like they even the language they speak to them is different. So between when two Balinese meet, the kind of Balinese they speak, they have to, like in Tamil movie you would have seen, when you speak to a Raja, you will speak in Sendamil, and then when they show a villager or something, then they will be speaking in a colloquial Tamil. Like that, in Balinese, they have three different Balinese, like 3 different layers. So between each and every one, according to that position where they are, they will change the language and speak to them. Every temple has a Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva temple. And the rituals are very, very important to them. Their village is having a ceremony. And for example, I have a guide with me. The village is having a ceremony. He said, my village have ceremony today, so I can't come. So they have to be in that village, be part of the ceremony. And so it is a very interesting lifestyle of the people. And then the way I go there, when I go there, it just like makes me so rejuvenated in terms of how people, their lifestyle they live. Because I get to go live even in like internal villages, not being in a big touristy town. So I get to see how the inspiration is. And my teacher in gamelan, Newman Wenton, I studied with him in Cal Arts when he was, he teaches in UCLA and in Cal Arts. And Wenton is like a legendary great musician. And then his simplicity, I go visit his village every year. He will come from US there, then I will go visit him. So it is a lot of not only the musical connections, but also the cultural connections, and then the way how the people's way of life has influenced me in my life is very, very important to me. And musically, yes, I have played with Sumatran music, I have played with Javanese music, I have played with Balinese music. And actually there is a great guitarist in Bali, Miss Balawan, and he plays like electric guitar, but he has a fusion kind of a band. I have played with him many times. So they experimentally, they do a lot of things. And so I'm always involved in some way or other, doing something, some project with someone there. So that has never stopped for me for more than 25 years now.
Amazing, because you've not only been exposed to gamelan as such, but you have the opportunity to learn about the culture, the way of life, for any musician as such. So it actually gives you a better, broader perspective, and that the fitness has actually refined you maybe perhaps more as a percussionist, and try to adapt, taken from that particular culture, from that particular music form, and adapt it to our South Indian music.
Definitely. When I made my decision, like I will teach very young children, then adults, the reason it came also, that's one of the influences there. So amazing to see those children. Actually, interesting thing is, when you go to Bali, you will never see a child cry.
That's
Yeah,
very.
the children will forget even how to cry, because for first 6 months, they won't even leave the child away from somebody carrying. And so there is no necessity for the child to know. And also the way how their lifestyles, they're very happy with what they have. They don't want anything. When are we going to cry? When I need something which I don't have, right? And when you know how to keep, enjoy with the things you have, you are not going to cry. So that is their philosophical concept. So you will never see those children will be like always quiet and doing their things, and it's really an amazing experience even to move with those children there.
Amazing. That's so much of interesting information you have shared with us about Bali and the people and their culture. Where do you
Mm.
want to see yourself 10 years from now?
So far, whatever I've been doing, it's like I keep on growing. Every semester, I teach a new student. I learn new things from them, and I keep myself very moving, like a dynamic in terms of. I challenge myself and keep myself dynamic. For example, I have done so many pieces. None of these pieces I've done second time with any student group. Though I have notation, I could have done that, but I don't do that. I always try to create something new. So that is keeping me very fresh in my thought process. 10 years from now, maybe I would have whatever, and then I'm not a go-getter either. Actually, when the Taiwanese Chinese orchestra came to me, initially I thought it was a junk mail. I did not even answer them. It was because it was in Chinese.
Oh,
And so I don't even know who they kind of came to know about me through one of my students in Taiwan, and so they invited me to write a piece because they wanted to write a world music ensemble piece. So whatever comes on my way, I'm very happy to contribute for that, and then on the whole process learn something new for me. As long as I have learned something new for me, I am fine with anything. So definitely, if 10 years from now, I would have moved towards some direction, but I'm not having any goal or anything set, like same one day at a time. And then on that day, whatever comes, see what it contributes to me and what I can contribute to something.
amazing. That's so very inspiring. Our friendship goes back to over 10 years now. I
Yes.
fondly recollect your proficiency in Tamil and Sanskrit literature. In fact, your contribution has been so vast. One can even compile it and write a book on that. How did you find your time to assimilate such information? I mean, these are a treasure.
All the information what I wrote and everything is not from vast amount of reading I did. I read only the work of Kanchi Periva, like Devathin Kuran. So that is the one book which is always reference point for me. If you ask me to talk something about music, I will go in that book and refer something. Definitely you would have spoken about that at some point of time. So I would take that as a cue from there. For example, I have to talk about Tala system, means he has, given speeches about what is the difference between the mantras meter, and then all these things, he has discussed very much detailed in the book. That 7 volumes. That 7 volumes is plenty for me. So, and I was so lucky because the one who compiled that, his name is Ra Ganapati, the author of Devathin Kuran. And he has written like a lot of children book and everything. And one of my best friends, he is one of my best friend's uncle. So even in my college days, when I was in India, I would go visit him. He will say quite a lot about Periva. That has been in my mind for a long. Once I got an access, in those days, you will get all this in Kalki magazine. They will have one paragraph of this Devathin Kural's basis. And my mother used to read, and then I used to read that even during my school days. So when it came as a book, it was such a big revealing aspect. So then I decided that everything, whatever the information I come from, it is only from that work as much as possible. So then I wanted to share in those days because people never had online books and everything like that. And also, even if you give the book free to somebody, unless otherwise they are blessed and they want to read it, they will not read it. It will be sitting there. When Facebook came in, then I thought it's a good way to kind of make friends, sharing my experiences of reading this, give some positiveness and give some truth pictures and stuff like that. Because in those days, Facebook was very nice also, because it was just like everybody, it was new, and there was no what you call business stream like now you have, like all the political statuses and everything. It's all paid and people are being loading, uploading, and all these things. You have to go through so much. In those days, it was not like that. Everybody were truly very involved in reading things. Like even you used to write like 2 lines, all those phrases, right? we will all read that line. Oh, today Chithra ji wrote this one. This is what I will, we'll discuss all those points. But now it has totally changed. My inspiration is Maha Periyava, what he has done, his work, and reading is what he has said about the whole thing, starting from simple thing, from how you have to be in your lead your family life to what you have to do. All the concept he has discussed. He has touched all the subject possible in that work. In my family, actually, my mother is very interested in reading. So I had, read like Bharadiyar's Kavitegal. And also the school education was very great. For my Tamil teachers in Pondicherry were amazing. And so we always had that relationship with our Tamil teacher and us who taught us in, middle school in Pondicherry. That is a great bonding, and also Pondicherry was amazing. The Kamban Villa there is such a great, a platform to go watch. So that was like a very nice atmosphere, which gave me that inclination towards that. I read quite a lot of books in Tamil, basically, when I grew up.
Gamut of information. Whatever I post, we used to post, which will make a much more meaningful and understandable to people who are actually reading my initial post. And I don't know how to thank you also. One thing good about Facebook is it always stores our memories, and we can always go back and revisit.
Yes. Actually, whatever I wrote back, everything, if you really, once you start, you will see that seed will be from Devatin Kora, somewhere from there. So it is nothing of my own thing at all. It's all like what I read, but my repertoire of the literature I have is very genuine and valid. That's what for many years, even from my college days, I was very involved in, with Kanjipuram. Actually, my father used to arrange concerts for the Navaratri concerts in Kanjipuram Madam.
Okay.
Actually, when Kamakshi Amman Koil, the temple Kumbhabhishekam was in 1976, and from that Kumbhabhishekam to Mandalabhishekam, 48 days, my father arranged concerts every day. And of course, there is a hotel called Rama Vilas or something. They will give 2-3 rooms for the musician to stay, and then they will give money for the car. And my father was very afraid how I'm going to get the musicians to, for this many days. But after 10-15 days, he has to have 3 concerts a day. And almost every possible famous musician, they all came and performed there. It was such an incredible process. Actually, 10 days before Mandala Abhishekam, my then Yemini Shankar Shastri was coming to Chennai for some other reason. My father asked him, will he be willing to play? Because Periva wanted a Veena on the 48th day for Ambal. And so then he said, okay, I will play. And 10 days before, it was K.V. Narayana Swami's concert. So I went with K.V. and Sir for that concert. I was not playing because I haven't started playing concert at that stage yet. But I went with him. Like my father, when he came and Maha Periva asked him, when is your son playing? My father said, no, we have to do Arangetram. I don't know when the right time is. He said, Mandala Abhishek, you ask him to play on Mandala Abhishek. So my Arangetram was only 10 days in notice. And also the only concert was available was at the Yemini Shankar Shastri's. My father called him and told him, he said, no problem, he can play for me. In my family, my father's all the Arangetrams were sung by Aluthur brothers. So my father kind of felt weird that without how can I do? So he called Aluthur Srinivas here. And he said, so he came, he also came to the Kanjipuram that day. And so in the temple, before the concert started, that was a busy day in the temple, he sang 3 songs before Ambal, and then I accompanied him on that day. And then evening was the main concert with evening. Miraculously, all these things happened. That is his blessings. But you cannot size any of these things put into any perspective. It is just like some blessing you have. So you had the right association with right people, and it all guides you in that way. That is the way how I go by it. That's what I said. I don't take control of anything. I did not know 25 days before I landed in America, I will go to America. I did not have the intention at all at the time. Till date, I've never filled an application form for a job anywhere. It just came because of they knew about me, and then they invited me, so I came and taught. started teaching. There is some kind of a divine blessing is there.
Amazing.
So I always felt like there is I'm divinely blessed in that sense.
Absolutely. As a musician, what would be your message to the young people and the aspirants, young aspirants?
For the younger generation, this generation is far better than what we were in those days. They are more well equipped, they are more knowledgeable, and all the things what they need is all available. For example, in those days, you have to read something about music theory, you have to go to a library, find a book, and come back. Now, you don't need anything, you can go to online and get it. So, all those things are there. But the only thing is, music's base is memory. Don't lose the power of memory. That is the memory power was for many generations as peddled us. All our elders knew everything out of memory. Now, a lot of people write down in book note. If you ask them to play a Mridangam lesson, they have to bring a notebook, see page number 25, or bring a, so those are the few things which they have to understand. I will say that, there is something called this concept of learning from memory. Periya has talked a lot about that. Let them read those. Luckily, now it is available in English also. He has given guidance what to do for the youngsters. And if they can read that and follow that guidance, they will be well. Fine, there is nothing more else to do. That is what my message is. Read what Periya says. In his, they have an English volume. Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan has brought it. Very beautiful. So there he has given what to do. Why the memory is very important in our culture. How our music is memory based. Our everything is memory based. How to keep that memory in a sharp way. That is what the most important thing is. So that's what my advice for them is. Please do. It is a very interesting book to read, but you have to kind of start that. Once you start that, then you will never come out of that. It is as good as that.
As an artist, how do you define your responsibility to your society?
I have to go back to my influence of Balinese culture. How every person in a village takes responsibility of what it is, what the whole village wanted. The students should get, the right group. That itself is a very big blessing, right? So in this whole process, as an artist, whether I learn from somebody or whether I am teaching somebody, I feel my responsibility is to make sure that I give them the genuine knowledge. As long as I keep doing it properly with good mind and good guidance, I think I would have fulfilled that role as for the society.
Amazing, very inspiring. And Sriji, now we move on to the second segment, which is the lighter side of you. What is an important life lesson that one must learn?
To be righteous.
What do you usually eat for breakfast? What weird food combinations do you really enjoy?
Pizza with avocado.
What's the most unusual place you've been to?
Alaska.
The most expensive thing you have broken?
Nothing.
When was the last time you got to tell someone, I told you so?
I tell my daughter every day.
What mythical creature do you wish actually existed?
Garuda.
What are you interested in that most people aren't?
Practice.
If magic was real, what spell would you try to learn first?
Be happy.
What's the craziest conversation you have overheard?
Many.
What app can you not believe someone hasn't made yet?
For the students to keep track of their practice hours.
That brings us to the end of this chat session. I had a great time. It's such a great pleasure to talk to you after so many years. I'd like to really thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chithra. It was such a great pleasure and honor for me to talk to you, and I'm looking forward for more in the future.
Romba sandosham. Thank you.
Romba sandosham.